So how are you, Brooklyn?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Give me the real answer. Give me the real answer. How are you? Give me the real answer.
I feel like shit,
Why do you feel like shit?
because I go through a lot of epilepsy attacks. So yeah,
Is that the only reason why you feel like shit?
yeah. Right now, yeah,
Did you have an attack today?
yes.
And how do you deal with those attacks?
Uh, Time?
Time?
Yeah,
What do you mean by time?
time. Like after the seizures, you have to like try to get back like coherent and aware of your surroundings. But the pain in your body that you go through with these attacks, you just go into the attacks and your body hurts like if you ran a marathon. So I get a lot of attacks in a day.
And how long does it hurt after you have the attack? How long does it hurt?
For a couple days.
It hurts for a couple of days after the attack.
Hmm.
And where does it hurt? Where in your body?
Everywhere. It's like if you ran a marathon, your whole body hurts. Like if you was at the gym for a couple hours.
I'm really sorry to hear that. And how long have you been getting these attacks?
Since I was 26. I'm 38 now.
Hmm. And how do they start? How do the epilepsy start?
I fainted one day, head first, hit the ground, and got a hematoma in the frontal lobe of my brain. And since then, I've been getting the seizures.
I'm really sorry to hear that. Tell us your situation, what do you what does your everyday life look like?
It depends how I feel. The epilepsy is a big toll on my life, and so is my disability. Not only am I epileptic, I'm also disabled physically because I have one leg that's shorter than the other. So I
Mhm.
walk with a limp. I need a hip replacement and partial pelvis and a total hip replacement. That's what I'm waiting for now.
Now, this is a mental health podcast, so but I also want to respect your boundaries at the same time. So, do you want to talk about, how that happened that your hip got broken?
Yeah, we could talk about that. At the age of 3 until I was 9, I was abused sexually, and mentally from my grandfather from my mother's side, who also raped, uh, from what I can count, is at least 18 people. And I was the only one that got like physically hurt from it. From his actions, not from my actions. He broke my first hip when I was 9, and he broke my second hip when I was 10. So the only reason why the raping stopped was because um he couldn't get to me anymore because um obviously I was my hips were broken, so it wasn't easy to become a target anymore.
And did you speak up about it after that? Did you tell anyone?
Um I tried to. I tried to plenty of times. I'm not the only victim that he has. So I was surrounded by his victims also. So nobody really wanted to talk about it. And my family is like secrets of the family stays in the family. And yeah, just I kept it to myself. My mother tried to commit suicide when I was 6 months old. She threw herself from a third floor window because she was raised in a house where her father was raping her sisters and a lot of the family, and nobody ever said anything because it's a secret of the family.
And nobody ever called law enforcement about that?
No. When my mother used to fight him off, my mom used to fight him off all the time. She's the second oldest of with my grandmother, uh, 8 kids.
Hmm.
Um, so my mother used to always try to fight him, and when the cops used to come because of the commotion, um, they used to say she was crazy, so they used to just send her off to a mental institution.
And what's ironic is she probably felt safer at the mental institution than she did at home.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that she felt safer knowing that she was in the house trying to fight him off. I feel as though that's how she felt because I talked to her a lot about this and she didn't know that I was going through that. But um if he did that to your sisters and then to a lot of the people of the family, I don't understand why. As a parent, because I am one of a an adult now, she's 18. And I was with her dad for 20, almost 23 years, and nobody ever came close to my daughter, and nobody ever came close to anybody's kids next to me.
Yeah, so it sounds like you broke the cycle, which I'm really proud of you for that. And I've told you many times,
Yeah.
obviously, we speak a lot outside of this podcast, but I've told you many times that how proud of you I am for breaking the cycle, which you clearly did. Your daughter was never touched, and I also we didn't mention that your mom passed away last year,
It hasn't been a year yet, but yeah.
and it was a few days before Mother's Day, I think.
Yeah, she died on the 6th. Her birthday was on the 4th of May. She was 79 years old.
Hmm. And
She died 8 rooms away from me. I was 15 minutes before getting my surgery on my knee. I broke my knee a couple days before that on her oxygen tank, and she was already in the emergency room because she had bed sores. I was taking care of her with a broken hand, and she was supposed to come home that day that I broke my knee. That's why I was rushing, and I fell over her oxygen tank. So when I broke my knee, I was by myself, and um, I broke it, and I didn't know I broke it, so I tried to walk it off, and I broke it some more.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was crazy. That was a crazy moment.
Your knee hit the oxygen tank
Um,
or the
I
floor.
tripped on the oxygen tank, but I don't know exactly what hit first. Was the knee on the oxygen tank or me on the floor? I don't even remember. All I know is I had a lot of pain, and like normally I would do is tough it out, and I had to drag myself to the front door to be able to unlock the latch because I have a latch on the door so the ambulance could come in and take me in.
And you were in the hospital for a while because of that knee, right?
Yeah, I was in the hospital for almost 9 days. And I
Oh, I thought it
signed
was more
myself
than that.
out. No, I think it was like almost 9 to 10 days, and I signed myself out the day before her funeral.
Hmm.
Against doctor's orders.
Now, Brooklyn, do you still have some resentment towards your grandfather? Do you have resentment towards him?
No, I feel as though I feel sorry for him. Um, I feel sorry for him for the judgment that God is gonna have on him or is having on him. Um, I know that he hurt a lot of people, and I could just hope that God has mercy on him.
Right. And how, because there are some people who say, you should have resentment towards him. What is your response to those people who say you should be angry at him? What is your response to those people?
I'm angry at his actions.
Hmm.
I'm angry at his his I don't know, I'm just mad at his actions, just his actions. I know that he went through some mental health problems while him growing up.
Hmm.
His mom was also schizophrenic. My mom was schizophrenic, caused from him.
Uh-huh.
Um, she was bipolar. Um, and yeah, I just feel like as a human, nobody has to go through that. But I feel like I went through it and it only made me a better person and a better mom.
Yeah, it made you more protective, it made you more caring, and now, now you're a lot more careful than they ever were. And like I can't emphasize this the fact that how proud I am of you for breaking the cycle. There's nothing more beautiful that a person can do than break a cycle, than break a generational negative horrible cycle. And there's nothing more beautiful than a person who breaks the cycle. And I'm never going to stop telling you that. I've told you that a million times off camera, and I'm going to keep telling you that. And when we do talk about the situation, sometimes it sounds like you have more resentment towards other people who maybe should have been there that didn't protect you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I feel like I have the resentment towards the people that knew what it was to go through that and then allow other people to go through it.
Mhm.
That's the resentment I have. If you know what it was to go through that, why would you let anybody go through that? Like, if you know how dark that place was, how lonely it was, why would you let anybody go want to go through that?
So are you referring to your parents right now?
I'm referring to everybody that knew or everybody that eventually found out and then judged me for trying to get help mentally. Um, there was a lot of times I wanted to take my life.
Hmm.
I think about that all the time. Would I do it? No. Um, I may be weak physically, but my heart is crazy big. So
Yeah, so where is the motivation to get up every day and to even stay alive after you've been through so much, after you've had one of the worst lives I've ever known in my life? Where is your motivation to get up and to stay alive and to keep pushing? Where does that motivation come from?
I believe it's my faith in God.
Hmm.
Um, my faith in being a mom, my faith in being an aunt, friend, a sister, whatever you want to call me. Only the good things, but so maybe some of the bad things too. I could be an asshole. I could be the coldest person when I am cold. But when I love someone, I love someone.
Yeah, and my mentality whenever I see that asshole side of you, whenever I see it, my mentality is always, how can I blame her? She has been through so much. How can you not be an asshole after you've been through so much? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I could give myself the benefit of the doubt, but most of the time I'm like, at the end of the day, you wouldn't want somebody to treat you like that. So stop being an asshole. But hey, I'm human.
And where was your father in that whole situation during that whole time? Where was your father?
Well, my mom was Puerto Rican and
Uh-huh.
my father was Dominican. My father was undocumented here. My father was a lot younger than my mom.
Hmm.
Um, so my American side, which is the Puerto Rican side, of my family used to threaten my dad that if he was to try to get custody of me, and I don't have his last name, so um on paperwork I'm not even his daughter. So if he tried to get custody of me, that they were gonna deport him and they were gonna have him deported. So yeah, I basically was like a I wouldn't say a check to my mother, but I was a check to the rest of her family.
But they got paid from the government, you're saying?
Yes.
But they also spend money too to have a kid. You have to spend money to raise a child. So that, that check was, of course, justified, of course.
The check was not towards to my mother because my mother wasn't mentally stable, so the check used to go to the family. So, and basically the people that allow him to do those things. And a lot of those people that allowed that to happen, that he did those that allowed that to happen, that knew that what was going on, they knew what was going on. He never got to touch their kids. He never got close to their kids. So that's maybe one of the other resentments I didn't mention that I do have. Um, a lot of people go through this because their parents are not mentally stable, or financially they're not stable, then they just I don't know why they do it. I know from what I saw in my family.
Where was your grandfather's wife at that time? Where was the grandma?
My grandmother passed away when I was I wouldn't say 4.
So he was single and on his own, you're saying?
When it started with me,
Yeah.
well, he wasn't single, he was widowed, but um I was already like 3, so yeah, like maybe a little bit after that is when she passed away. My grandmother was an alcoholic. She had 8 kids from this man,
Wow.
and she knew what he was doing, but she didn't speak any English. He didn't speak any English, and yeah,
You said she
mm,
knew that what he was doing. She knew about all that,
yeah, she did.
and she never reported it.
No,
Why?
she didn't speak English. Her story was that she didn't speak English and she was scared of the United States. She never wanted to come to the United States. Um, she was always home. She never went outside. Um, so yeah, he basically like he was the head poncho.
And nobody was stopping him.
No,
And then he passed away. When did he pass away?
I was 14.
How did you feel when he passed away?
Sad.
Why?
When he died, um, he had fell um on the same corner where he lived at, and he hit his head, had a head trauma, bleeding of the brain, and he suffered really bad those last months. Um, I was there when he passed away. Um, I was in the hospital. Um, even though like he did what he did to me, I um I thank God that maybe the reason why I don't have so much resentment towards him is because I didn't know exactly what he was doing to me. My eyes was always covered. Um, one time, he hurt me so bad. I was a very quiet kid.
Hmm.
I never really spoke too much because if I spoke, I knew that I would get his attention. So I was always very quiet, not like how I am now. I was always quiet. I didn't try to make a peep to not to not be able to become his target.
But you didn't live with him.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you lived with him
At one point, yeah, I did.
at one point?
After my mom tried to kill herself when I was 6 months old, she when she got better after she broke 106 bones broken in her body. She was 3 months in coma. Um, she fell from her third floor window, which I just recently found out it wasn't the window, it was actually the roof. Um, and yeah, she um she had to go back to live with him because nobody else wanted to take care of her. And of course he wanted to be able to get to me. So yeah, we lived with him.
And when a little kid is I guess the question is at the time when you were a little girl, at the time, did you feel that you deserved it at the time?
To be honest, I didn't even know what was going on. All I felt was a lot of pain. A physical pain. Um, I didn't know what my body was feeling. I didn't know. I know it was at the same time being a victim, you're getting sexually aroused at the same time. I didn't know what arousal was. Um, what I was feeling was pain and arousal at the same time.
Interesting.
So yeah, it does fuck with your head a lot. You don't know whether you're enjoying it. Obviously, you have a clitoris. Well, I have a clitoris, and you're stimulating it, and also you're also hurting me because I am a child, and you're a grown person, a full grown man. And mind you, my grandfather was 6'2", and I'm 5'5". So imagine at that time I was 3 years old. So yeah, um,
But then what you said it happened all the way until you were 10. So like when you were 9, 10, you're a little bit older, you're a little bit smarter. What was your mentality? Did you feel like I deserve that? Like how did you view that?
I viewed it as he's going to hurt me. It's going to hurt, and I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was that did you feel that you deserved it when at that time?
No,
Because a lot of little kids when they get hurt by their parents or by their grandparents, a lot of little kids gain the mentality of I deserve this pain. I deserve this. There's something wrong with me. It must be me. Maybe I'm a horrible kid. Maybe I'm a horrible person. I deserve this. There are a lot of kids who gain that mentality when they're abused.
I don't think I ever deserved it, or mm, I don't think anybody deserves that. As a child, as an adult, I don't think that.
So you knew that you deserved better. You knew that you were being abused and you knew that you didn't deserve it.
At 10 years old, by 10 years old, yeah, I knew what was going. I knew that I wasn't supposed to be getting that done. I know that behind my mother being in a in a hospital bed bound, not being able to walk, not being able to use the bathroom, have a colostomy bag open from everywhere in her body, stitches, staples, everything you name it, and him going behind her and doing this gesture behind her back. That's when I really knew, like, I'm not supposed to be getting this done. This is not normal. So yeah, I was quiet about it. That was my fault. Um, I do feel like that was my fault. I was quiet. I should have gone to a police officer. I should have gone to a fireman. I knew those people are there to help us, but I didn't know what he was going to do to my mother.
Well, also, how is a little kid supposed to know what to do? You can there's no such thing as a kid with any wisdom. But a kid, you can't blame a kid for not knowing what to do. I mean, you were just 9, 10 years old. There's no way a kid can know what to do, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but
So
like that was my card. So not everybody has a different story. Everybody has a different ways to cope with things. My thing was at that time after I got my surgeries, I started the self-harming myself, the cutting. Um I just wanted to feel human. I wanted to feel something um other than being scared. So I used to self-harm a lot.
What did you feel with the self-harm? What did you feel?
I wanted to see blood. I wanted to see like I was human, that I wasn't a machine. I wasn't an object.
Mm,
I wanted to feel like a human.
mm. Because your entire childhood you felt like an object.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that you felt like n nobody wanted you.
Yeah, always.
And do you still feel that way today?
Yes.
Like nobody wants you?
Yes.
Even your friends and family?
Yes.
Why do you feel that way?
Based on my family's actions.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also based on, your childhood because when you were a child, you learned that, you're just an object. This is what your brain learned. Your brain learned that you're just an object and that, nobody loves you, even though that's not necessarily true. And now that mentality carried over into your adulthood, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
Would you say that he loved you?
As a person or as like a sexual.
As a person.
I can't answer that question. Um, I don't really know how to answer that question. I feel like he loved me because he was doing that to
Well, that's
me,
that's not love. That's not love. That's
and
just
I
lust.
feel like he enjoyed it, so he fell in love with me.
He fell in love with you?
Yeah,
You think he actually like fell in love with you?
yeah,
Wow. Maybe he was schizophrenic himself, no?
yeah. I think so. I think that he was also molested or raped or because he wasn't the only rapist. His older brother was a rapist also.
Mhm. And sometimes I wonder, like, how did you come out so good? Because you have a very good heart. You're obviously not a rapist or any sort of criminal. I've known you for years now. You have a very, very good heart. So sometimes I wonder, how did you come out so good despite all of that trauma, despite all of the abuse? How did you come out with such a good heart?
I don't know about being good. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm good. I would say that I do have a good heart. Um, I think nobody's actually good. Um, I just think that we just have our days and our stories, and we're trying to live life, and we don't know what's coming. We don't know what tomorrow's gonna give us.
Yeah, so I disagree. I definitely consider you a good person. As soon as I met you, so I met you via Uber, right? And I met your mom at the same time at St. Francis Hospital. I'm an Uber driver, and I picked you and your mom up at the same time. And right off the bat, you came across as a really, really good person. And I do think that you're a very good person. And like I said, I'm gonna say it again. You broke the cycle, and to me, I'm always, th this is why I always considered you a miracle because you came out so good despite such a rough past, despite such a rough childhood, you came out so good with such a good heart, and that's why I always considered you a miracle to me.
Thank you.
So, what would you say? Because there are people listening who are victims themselves and who were victims as children. What would you say to those people who listening today? Let's just say a child in particular, right? What would you say to a child, a 9-year-old child sitting in front of you, or let's even say yourself, right? What would you say to your 9-year-old self today?
It's not your fault, and you're not alone.
Mhm.
Look for help. Now we have the internet. Now we have all these new gadgets that we didn't have at my time. So
Right.
you're not alone. There are resources out there. There are good people out there. eh, People who have good hearts. People who help.
Hmm.
And you're not alone. You're not alone. I wish I had that. I wish I had someone to hug me at that time and tell me it's not your fault. I didn't have that. But maybe that's what made me so strong.
Was your mom there to hug you at the time?
Um, my mom was very difficult to get a hug from. Of course, when she got older, it got a little bit easier, but as a child, my mom was very tough. My mom was always tough. Um, Everybody in the funeral was mentioning how tough she was.
Hmm.
But at the funeral, when I got up there and I had to say my piece because everybody knew for 37 years I took care of her. Everybody knew, everybody knows that anytime that you call me and ask me for help, no matter what it is, I'm going. I'm getting there. I'm going to be there. I don't care what you have done to me. If you need me, I'll be there.
Yeah, and that's the part of you that I consider so good. You've always came across as like not resentful and just very, very helping, very caring. And I always wonder to this day, I still wonder, how you came out with such a good heart. And I think a lot of it has to do with your mother because your mother was a really good person, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, she was a hard ass. This is at the funeral, like I was saying, I just talked about how good she was because everybody talked about how of a bad temper she was or how was a tough fighter she was or you know nobody said how good her heart was. And she was funny, she was tough, and she was my mom.
She was funny. I remember the day that I picked you guys up. She was cracking jokes in the car, if you remember that day.
I remember that day.
And so you how do you cope with all of this? How do you move on? What is the next step?
I would say for somebody that's going through this, the next step is getting help. um Seeing a psychiatrist, seeing a therapist. Maybe you don't want to go the route with medication. um Maybe you want to try to do it like straight cold turkey without any medication. I needed medication. um so I have antidepressants and anxiety medication, sleeping pills, um um and I take them a lot, and that's how I cope with my pain.
Just talk.
I don't take pain medication at all. Um, I don't take pain medication. So the pain drives me crazy. But once I get my sleeping pills in me and I could go to sleep, that's the best time of my life.
Does talking about it help? Does talking about it with other people, does that help?
Yeah, it does. To a certain point, it does bring back memories that I didn't know that was still there. I I like to think of myself as strong like my mom, strong like bull, like mom used to say. And she was a Taurus and I'm a Capricorn and we gonna stick our horns in you. Believe that.
Yeah, you've always came across as someone, who even though you're a good person, you have that side of you. You have that fighter side of you, don't you?
Yeah, it's either fight or flight. It's either you're gonna go down or I'm gonna go down. One of us is gonna go down. And it's not easy for me to go all the way down because if I'm still on the floor, I'm still gonna be holding you. Believe that.
How would you respond to someone who said, Brooklyn, you should forgive your abusers. You should forgive your grandfather. You should forgive all your abusers. How would you respond to those people?
I feel in my faith, I have to I have to forgive people. I'm not perfect either, like I have my bad in me. I'm not a perfect person. Nobody is perfect. We are not Jesus.
Yeah.
And as a Muslim saying this, we are not Jesus.
Hmm.
We are not perfect. We're human. We have emotions, we have hate. Because I hate. I can hate real bad. Do I hate him? No. I don't hate him. I hate what he did. I don't hate him. Maybe at one point I did. At one point, maybe after having my daughter, because of all the difficulties of trying to hold this baby for 9 months based on what he did to me, they told me I would never be able to get pregnant. Or if I do get pregnant, my daughter was gonna be, or my child was gonna be with Down syndrome, or she was gonna kill me while my body was gonna kill her,
Hmm.
so it wasn't safe for me to have her. And I always said, whatever God wants, whatever God wants. And that's what kept me going. My daughter's the only thing that has me here besides God. God, of course, but my daughter's the only reason why I'm still here. And after losing my mother, I never wanted to do it so bad.
Hmm.
But I have to be here because God wants me here. I'm here for a reason. I don't know what it is, but I'm here for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I had to guess why you're here, it's not only to help your daughter who came out really, really healthy and happy and, not with Down syndrome, and she came out very, very healthy. And I know she just turned 18, but also, to share your
He's
story.
gonna be 19. Excuse you.
Yeah, she's gonna be 19.
He'll be 19.
But I also think that, God wants you to share your story with other people because there are other people maybe who are molested by their father or their grandfather. There are a lot of people who are abused, and I think that,
And there's a lot of people that abuse that. Not only girls. There's also a lot of men who's been abused. I know a lot of guys who've been abused. I know a lot of men who've been abused and they by the same abuser and they won't break and say they got abused. But I know, and you know that I know, but you would not break.
well,
But I think for a man, I think it's more is worse. I think as a man is worse because as a man you're always portrayed to be the strong, masculine,
mhm.
and to be able to go through that and not being able to say something as a child or even as an adult, to I think like as for a man, I have one of my daughter's friends, a boy who wanted to date my daughter was abused. And he had told my daughter this, and my daughter's a very secretive person. If you tell her something, it will not go past her and you. But with my daughter, I feel like as though she was going through something and she would ask me questions about my raping. I was always honest with my daughter. Since
Mhm.
my daughter was able to talk, I've always told her these places, nobody, not even mommy or daddy, supposed to touch this. Like even cleaning wise, am I hurting you or you feel some type of way since she was small? And so as an adult now, and this boy was raped by a woman. This
Wow.
this young, this young boy was raped by a woman.
Wow.
And then this woman was always around. I guess she was a part of the family or maybe married into the family. I'm not sure because I was never able to speak to the little boy about it because that was something that he told my daughter to keep to herself.
Mhm.
But my daughter couldn't help it. She didn't know how to help him. So I would try to ask her to ask him questions or maybe can I talk to him? And she had told him what I went through and that if he would like to speak to me about it. And he told her no. Um, he doesn't try to get help. Of course the kid is of age now. Um, um, but at this time I believe they were like around maybe 16. So, he was already older. I'm not sure of exactly his age when he was getting raped. But I could imagine like being a boy, especially being a little boy, I have nephews and in total I have 22 nieces and nephews.
Wow.
And I know for a fact I have a lot of cousins, and I know for a fact that, when you're wrestling, even if you're wrestling and it's not even sexually, you get aroused. So if a boy, imagine his hormones of him just rubbing on his clothes, he gets him aroused. So I could imagine how it was to be getting raped as a boy. So I I tried to reach out to him a couple of times, but no, he never. I guess he never wanted to reach out to me. I just wanted him to know that he wasn't alone and there's people that's out there that can help him. But he didn't want any help. But he doesn't want any help. So, I could understand, maybe you're embarrassed, you know, because
Stigma.
there's a lot of that. And when you're getting abused, there's a lot of you're embarrassed. I know I was embarrassed. I didn't know I was getting raped until like I said, after like I was probably like 10, 11 years old. I that's when I found out about sex ed, and because at that time I didn't know anything about those things. Like I said, I was being raped and my eyes were covered. So thank God for that. I thank God that he had that mercy on me, that he would always cover my eyes.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of men, there's a huge stigma because a lot of men, like you said, are embarrassed to say that they were molested, and they feel like it's emasculating and it makes them feel or look like less of a man. Like I don't know if you know the actor Terry Crews, but when he spoke up about being molested by a grown man, everyone started, a lot of people started laughing at him, a lot of people started mocking him. So there's a lot of stigma for men who are molested. So I'm gonna ask you one final question, Brooklyn. If you were to speak to your grandfather today, what would you say to him?
Why couldn't you just get a woman from the street and pay her?
Mhm.
There's a lot of women out there that's willing to just spread it open, whether it's for money, drugs, or whatever it is. You could have picked a grown woman and told her what you wanted to do, and she could have gave it to you. You didn't have to do it to kids,
Especially your own grandkids.
any kids.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my answer to that is probably number one, he's probably just a, he was definitely just a really sick man and he probably didn't have the money and maybe he preferred little kids, maybe that was his thing. So he was very, very sick man, but I'm really, really happy that, that it's over, number one. And that, it sounds to me like you've processed it all and you know how to look at it. And, it's obviously it's something that that we never stop healing from. Obviously it still hurts you to this day, and it makes sense. I mean, that's the sort of thing that hurts you for life. But I know I've said it so many times, both on camera and off camera, but I am so proud of you for breaking the cycle. You broke the cycle, and that is the most beautiful thing. The most beautiful person in the world is someone who breaks a cycle, and you've done it. And I'm so proud of you for that, Brooklyn.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Okay, I'll call you. Bye.